Now we're going to turn the whole contraption over, and we do that by making the handles again underneath, grabbing one half of the spokes at a time like so, and then just turning it over like that. Now this is the next most important step. We selected a spoke from the right hand side of the flange to start the other side. This time we have to start from the left hand side. This spoke here is now the first one to the left of the valve hole. It was the first spoke we put in when the wheel was the other way up. So we need a spoke from the top flange to fill the top hole, and it needs to be the next spoke around the hub from this one. And if we follow this spoke through to the flange and come up, we need the next spoke around on the flange, which is this one. And that spoke will always be a heads up spoke because of the way we filled the hub in the first place. It's reasonably obvious that this is the correct spoke, because if we went to the next one, for instance, it won't actually reach. And if we went to the next one around this way, it'll be way too long. We put that spoke in. If for some reason it doesn't look right once we put the nipple on, we need to have another look to make sure we have got the right spoke, but I'm sure that is the right spoke because it went on just right. When we did the other flange, we went around to the right and kept selecting heads up spokes. This time we'll go around to the left and keep selecting heads up spokes, and we'll leave a top hole and go to the next one. Leave a top hole and go to the next one. So the pattern remains the same. It just keeps being repeated. It's always multiples of 4. If it's a 32 spoke wheel, we'll repeat each operation 8 times. You'll notice that I often put a little bend in the spoke with my hand like that, so that I don't scratch the rim. So that was the last of that group of 9. Now we need to lace in the heads down spokes into the remaining top holes on the rim. Now it doesn't matter which heads down spoke we start with, we've just got to go over 2 and under 1. So just grab any spoke, put a little slight bend in it with your fingers, under a spoke to the rim. And once again, if we'd made a mistake, this spoke just wouldn't have fitted. Okay, so that's finished lacing it. You can see all the spokes are really loose, but they all made it to the rim without seeming to be too short or too long, so we've probably laced that very well. The way we've laced this, and with any wheel with tangent spoking, you'll find that there's 4 different size gaps between spokes. So you can see here there's quite a small gap there, a bigger one there, the largest gap between these two, and then a smaller one again. So 4 different size gaps. The convention is that the valve hole should fall in the biggest gap. One reason for that is so you can get your pump head in there onto the valve, and it's just a convention with wheel building that you do it that way. If we hadn't started and finished where we did, with all those steps that we did, this would have been just a random event for this large gap to fall at the valve hole. But because we started with the first heads up spoke to the right of the valve hole, etc., we ended up with the big gap.